So this is India, in which protests are growing very big. At first, I kind of dismissed it because protests kind of happen a lot in India. It's a big country. A lot of people. They have like tribal faction type orients. And anyways, a lot of protests all the time in these countries, and so I dismissed it. However, this one in particular I found fascinating, and it is growing quite rapidly. It is primarily over repeated exam paper leaks, especially the 2026 NEET UG medical entrance exam. Systemic failures in the education system and related youth frustrations, including high unemployment and a lack of accountability. So it's an accumulation, which we've seen before in other countries, of the youth being wronged. However, it looks like the final straw here is the fact that med school entrance exams were leaked online, I guess more than one time. And so the people who had taken them legally had to retake them, which would piss a lot of people off for sure. In May 2026, more than 2 million students sat for the National Eligibility Entrance Test. I don't know if this is correct. It says CUM, like CUM. I don't know if that's like the name of it or this is some kind of prank. Whatever. I'm going to continue and pretend that it's real. NEET UG, the main gateway to undergraduate medical colleges in India, with far fewer seats available than applicants. Authorities later canceled results in order to retest after evidence of a question paper leak. Questions matching circulated guest papers. This caused widespread outrage, disrupted months of intense preparation, and was linked to multiple student suicides. Yeah. I mean, all right. So to summarize what's going on is there's a test to get into the pre-med or med school. These guys are fucking studying their asses off to get in. They go to take the test. And it turns out the test was leaked online, so they have to cancel the test and then redo it, which, of course, understandably is driving a lot of them crazy. The protests centered in Delhi, especially at Juntar Mantar, and attempts to march towards Parliament and spreading to other cities, are largely organized and amplified by the Cockroach Janta Party, CJP. This youth-led satirical movement began online after comments by India's Chief Justice likening certain unemployed young people to cockroaches, parasites, later clarified by him as taken out of context. Yeah, sure, we've seen that before. It quickly grew into broader Gen Z mobilization demanding the resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan, greater transparency and reforms in national exams, and accountability for the scandals. Activist Sonam Wangchuk joined with a hunger strike, which he ended after 26 days. Weak. Amid some government assurances on nonviolent protest and compensation, though core demands like the minister's resignation continued. Deeper drivers include long-standing pressure in India's highly competitive education system, years of coaching for limited seats in medical engineering and other fields, repeated irregularities in various exams, and high youth graduate unemployment. Figures cited around 15 to 40%, depending on the age group and source. In recent analysis, many protesters framed the leaks as symptomatic of eroded trust in institutions that are supposed to provide merit-based paths to mobility and jobs. Yeah, I mean, like, you put that much effort in. I'm going to assume med school there is like med school anywhere else. You put that much effort in to climb in life, and it gets canceled because your government's incompetent. Yeah, that would drive me nuts too. These demonstrations represent one of the more significant recent youth-led challenges with police responses, including tear gas, batons, and some clashes where we have footage of it, and ongoing sit-ins reported until late July 2026. Note that Indian students have protested on various campuses or state-specific issues, fees, NEP, and other exam glitches in prior years, but the current nationwide wave is centered on the NEET scandal and its fallout. Yeah, so there it is. Basically, the youth are unhappy, and they keep growing. They're unhappy for multiple reasons, and they're combining forces. So here we have some of the protests. I guess they're copying a protest from Norway. Their police in New Delhi used tear gas batons in internet shutdowns against largely peaceful student-led protests on July 20th. Here's some of them here. The Cockroach Janta Party began as a satirical youth movement just a few months ago, but has since emerged as a rallying point for disillusioned young people across India.
And jobless. Despite a constant stream of graduates emerging from India's colleges each year, millions of highly qualified workers are grappling with a squeezed job market, as well as continuing layoffs.
The larger demand is that the system gets cleared up of the inefficiencies and the problems that it has, which doesn't allow access to students from all parts of society, but majorly from the parts of society where they're not able to purchase a good education.
And the recent government medical exam paper leak added insult to injury. Corruption within the government and failures of the education ministry also play a part in the protests. With the largest youth population in the world, 367 million young people make up a third of India's working age population. But nearly 40% of graduates and 20% of those aged 25 to 29 are without work. And as multinational companies in India become increasingly shaped by AI, there is a growing shift towards doing more with less people. Many young workers are now moving elsewhere.
The Indians are wanting to go to the advanced countries, whether it be US, UK, France, Germany, etc. You see the queues outside Canadian embassies and outside Australia's High Commission, youth wanting to go there because they're not getting proper work here, right? So employment generation is a huge issue.
Yeah, I mean, how the fuck are you supposed to employ 1.5 billion people? I mean, I don't blame it being hard. Obviously, India's, it's got all kinds of problems. This is just icing on the cake. But you can see them here blocking buses, cars. You can see if you're just listening, it's just normal protest footage. You're not missing anything too crazy. Cops with riot shields getting rocks thrown at them. Gen Z protests in India. Tens of thousands of Gen Z students have taken to the streets in India to demand the resignation of the education minister over a severe exam paper leak, which led to the cancellation of the national eligibility entrance test for aspiring undergrads. In May, more than 2 million undergrad hopefuls took the exam, only for an investigation to later reveal that it bore problematic similarities to a previously circulated guest paper. Now the youth-led Cockroach Janta Party, hilarious, has mobilized tens of thousands of Gen Z to protest. Yeah, I mean, you piss off 2 million people, good luck.
Is failing to absorb a growing number of young graduates. More than a quarter of young Indians now.
Friends, मैं जानता हूं कि
I know that this exam paper leak is not a trivial issue.
Mr. Narendra Modi finally addressed the mounting anger in an unusual video message at midnight. He said the culprits behind a national exam scandal that had fueled the protests had been caught, promised swift and stringent punishment, and said Parliament would address the issue. But he stopped short of protesters' central demand, the resignation of the country's education minister. The protests represent the biggest youth-led challenge to Modi's government in years and underscore how India's economic rise is failing to absorb a growing number of...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty easy to make some comments here, but in the end, India has failed to incorporate a proper job market, a proper industry for economic growth. You cannot rely on foreign investment alone in carrying your society. It's not very smart. For example, this started with China. Not this in particular, but China's a great example of a country that relied a lot on foreign investment and then used the foreign investment in a way to grow its own market. China produces a lot of its own products. Now, again, legally, they fucking stole a lot of stuff, and copyright's a problem. That being said, they've also separated a lot when it comes to their own innovations, and have gone parallel, I guess, to Western technology and Western products. They still rely heavily on outside investment, but and their job market's starting to slow down. They're starting to see some problems because of all the drawback. Fine. but I have a lot of faith that they'll still be able to internalize their own market. India has absolutely failed at capitalizing on the massive amounts of investment they've had of foreign employers, I guess is the best way to put it. They have not succeeded. A lot of it's been digital, which is a problem because the second that company Meta is fired like what 2,000, tens of thousands. Microsoft is fired tens of thousands. They have no problem. There is no obligation from the American companies to just be like, sorry, we can't fire you. We won't fire you because of this or give you proper pay or whatever. You're just getting fired. And they have no problem doing it in mass droves. They have failed to capitalize. So I'm not surprised that they're having this much
are
trouble.
finding those expectations unmet. Youth-led movements in recent years have overthrown governments in neighboring countries like Bangladesh and Nepal, but Modi's political position remains strong. Recent election victories have strengthened his grip on power even as opposition leaders like Rahul Gandhi back the demonstrations. But if Modi wants to turn India into a developed economy, he'll need an education system and a job market that deliver on the aspirations.
True. You also can't rely on foreign countries exporting your massive amounts of educated youth. That being said, of all the problems to have, having too many doctors is not the worst one. It looks like a protest. Just going to turn it down real quick. Indian student protests turned violent. Yep, there are guards beating the protesters with sticks. Look how the Delhi police brutally beat the students without caring that there were girls and children in the crowd. Well, why are there children in the crowd? Without considering anyone's safety, they started beating them brutally. I mean, listen, I'm not going to lie, it's better than how they do it elsewhere. You should see the Hong Kong protests or even the protests here in America. You get shot with beanbag guns here. Tear gas. These are some rookie stuff. So it is escalating. It has been escalating. I don't think it'll go to the, Nepal revolution thing, but I don't know. India's a tough cookie. They are also big on censorship themselves. A lot of the third world countries are. Woman gas for air, tear gas.
ये यहाँ पर घायल हो गए हैं इनको यहाँ से जो दौड़ाया जा रहा है इनको देखिए यहाँ से दौड़ा हम लोग जा रहे हैं हम लोग तो कवरेज यहाँ
but you can see it's serious stuff. We'll see if it continues to grow. Leaders of India's cockroach protests said their supporters wouldn't retreat even after an activist who galvanized the large-scale demonstrations ended a hunger strike. Gen Z protests in India are getting bigger and more creative. Wow, I mean, it's a lot of people. It's definitely more than 2,000. I can't remember what number they said, but there's a lot of people here. I can imagine Indian protests in Canada in the future, yeah. It's a lot of people, man. A lot of people. Jesus. India is going viral for human rights violations. The reality of the Indian forces being exposed internationally, showing how the Indian army police beat innocent protesters to death. I haven't seen that.
How police responded as thousands of students marched toward India's parliament, demanding the
responsibility to bury our voices. But let me tell you this through your medium, that if they try to silence one voice, 1,000 others will be born.
The anger began with...
How do you control 1.5 billion people? You don't. There's a lot of footage here, guys. There's a lot of footage. A lot of people getting beat. All right, we will put a pin in this until next week. We'll see what happens. Hey, I love protests. Go for it, guys. Let them know. Let them know. Let's see what I got here. Follow up for the protests. before we move on to some other things. Yeah, you can see, I guess these protesters were detained. Oh my god, not the Bollywood music. And then they get freed, I guess. I mean, that's all it took. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on it. That sucks. Sucks that that much work goes down the drain overnight. I could totally understand protesting over that stuff.